G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 109. Of course, so much to talk about today. We're going to be covering the sentencing regarding Noah Balter, some injury updates, AFL preview to round 7, AFL Fantasy chat, of course, and much, much more. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Welcome to the Boundary Riders podcast, your one-stop shop for all your AFL content needs.
He looks at his options, and Jack Ginnivan says, boys, you brought me to the club to do justice!
But this guy has Flog written all over him.
From a tack down, Reed sprints away from Petrarca, leaves him in his wake, takes a second bounce, takes a third. The sheer arrogance of Harley Reid. Finish the job, young man!
So let's get into the footy news from the week that was. So guys, my brother is here this week. He decided to join us. I think it was just because Port Adelaide beat the Swans, to be honest. But
yeah, I just wanted a bit of bragging rights.
Yeah, of course. Wanted to come in and rub it into me, apparently. But good win from Port Adelaide in the end. Get their season up and going, sort of. I mean, probably their second hardest win of the year so far, if you count it on opponents, because Hawthorn was probably the best so far. But you probably haven't been here since those 2 wins in a row. Port Adelaide. I mean, is it time to sign Ken? Is it just over now? Fuck Josh Carr.
Fuck the succession plan. Throw it out the window. What's the point?
I think it's
We've
that
got
point.
man.
Yeah, Ken's enough, I think. Ken-ough.
Yeah.
What do you think about all that sort of stuff at the moment? I know, obviously, they're not going to change that, but interesting that Port Adelaide have risen the last couple of weeks.
No, it's a nice change of pace, but it doesn't really change it. It doesn't change anything that Port's fans have had over the last 10 years, well, especially the last 5 years as a supporter. They know that Port Adelaide haven't been able to take the next step, so why would they expect it this year?
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing if Ken Hinkley if Port Adelaide went all the way and won the premiership. That's obviously a long way. But, I mean, that would be amazing if he was able to do that in his final year.
Oh,
yeah. We'll talk about the Sydney Swans a little bit later regarding their start to the season. But let's get into a couple of news topics. So, first of all, I mean, it's not great news, but it's better news than what it could have been. Sam Darcy's injury on the weekend. First time I saw it, I thought, oh, fuck, it's over. That's a whole season done. Thought it was an ACL. However, as most people have known by now, he has escaped that torn ACL. He still requires surgery after a fracture to his knee, so he's expected to miss at least the next 3 or 4 months, but the season is still alive. I mean, the best case scenario, I would say, regarding Sam Darcy.
100%. When you saw the injury, you thought that's ACL every day of the week, and we wouldn't see him.
Yeah, the fact that he like hobbled the way he did and like kind of almost came off with a little bit more of a walk up kind of told me, because usually when people say they've done an ACL, they feel the immediate pain and then they feel like they're okay.
Yeah,
that's what it kind of looked like for me with Sam Darcy. I was like, oh fuck, he's gone. That's it. But apparently, seems like it's okay. Regarding it, I mean, you don't really hear think of, oh, thank God he's done a fractured knee, do you? Yeah. Like, oh, thank the Lord. Anyway, so goodish news on the Bulldogs front. We're interested to see how they go in the next couple of weeks, especially with Aaron Norton being now their main man. Jamara's not coming back anytime soon. So, I mean, that's also a bit of a news talking point. People are saying now that the Jamara situation is getting unsalvageable. I can't see him being at the Bulldogs next year.
No.
I think it's all over. I mean, what AFL club would really want to risk it at this point? Like, it seems like no Victorian club I don't think would want him necessarily, because of the fact that the media scrutiny on him this year has been palpable, to say the least. And I just don't think that he would be able to deal with that at any other club. And at the moment, I mean, Sydney have been the team linked to him, but if I'm a Swans fan, I wouldn't personally want him there, the way he's acting at the moment. You know, you see him on social media posting all this sort of stuff, and it's like, do you want that a part of your club?
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's going to be going for a bit of money too, you would suspect. I mean, I don't really see Jamara moving as a rookie-listed player.
No.
So, as a Port fan, obviously he wouldn't be coming here, but would you want to risk it for the potential of a great talent from what have you seen?
No, I wouldn't. I think that's it wouldn't be great for culture, I don't think, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you sitting there in the twos being behind Jamara because, you know, after what he's done at this club, especially look at the Bulldogs as well. I think they have dealt with it pretty well, considering. I don't think they could have done much more. And I think at the end of the day, the Bulldogs, it's going to be they're pretty hard done by out of all of this. I mean, a lot of the time I tend to lean on the side of the player, but what Jamara's been doing, I don't believe a lot of the stuff that's been coming out about him, but like from other people. Like I remember putting out a TikTok got like 130,000 views, and a lot of the comments are like, "Oh, he's fucking done this, he's done that." It's like, and your reasoning or your source for that is, "Oh, I heard about it." Oh, okay, good, bro. So I mean, that's what we're all going to believe. We're going to believe you in the comments of a TikTok comment. But anyway, it is a bit interesting regarding how much speculation has been surrounded about it, all the narratives that have been brought about, but I think the main point to take away is that I don't see him at the Bulldogs.
No.
In the next... I don't see him there in 12 months. I mean, I'll be very interested to see what club would want to take him. I mean, the talent is there, but you'd have to work through a lot to even suggest maybe bringing him back. Another part one on the injury front is Elliot Yeo. So the last 3 weeks, apparently, he has been listed that he's 4 or 5 weeks away. Now, I guess you can kind of make that point. It's like, 2 weeks in a row that he's 4 or 5 weeks away. Because you're like, oh, he was actually 5. Oh, now he's kind of 4. But it's the same. It's a very much a Geelong move of not changing of just leaving it very vague. Yeah. Now, I personally don't know if you really... I don't know if supporters really... should 100% know. I don't know. Is that really a thing that we should know 100% like when players are coming back?
Oh, I think there should be better. This should be better better ways of doing it, because what's the harm in because clubs the opposition club knows, oh shit, Bontempelli's back next week, or Bontempelli's back in 4 weeks. Oh wait, no, it's now 2 weeks. It's like, yeah, yes, you can plan for it. But yeah, I mean,
you're looking at the Cats as well. I think every single game bar round 1, they've made a late change.
No, I think it is every round.
Oh, they made it every single round.
I think it is every single round. They've made at least one. They've done a one late change.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
No, I think that needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
I think because that's not really fair on anybody.
Yeah. Now, I guess sometimes teams need to make a late change. That's more than fair, but I don't think. That's the thing. Even if you said, no, you can't make it a late change unless it's injury, people are just going to start saying, oh, he had calf soreness or something, and he'll be back the next week. Oh, so, yeah. I mean, you can't even... I think maybe the point now, maybe where it gets to, you get only 2 emergencies, and then maybe you get 1 big guy, 1 small guy. Maybe that's the case instead of 3. Or you got to make a late change. You can't make any 2 hours, 3 hours before the game. Maybe that's something you have to do, or... I don't know. It just seems that it's very weird that teams are being very sheepish now about late changes, and it seems I don't know. I don't know if it's 100% unfair, but it does seem very sheepish.
I think that I don't know, especially to the Cats who have done it every single week this year. I think there needs to be because let's be honest, who does it more than 4 times a year? 4 or 5 times a year. I think not many other teams have done it.
Yeah.
So...
I think there maybe the point of there's a cap on it.
Yeah.
Of maybe you could make this amount of late changes throughout the year, maybe, and then that gets reset in finals. I don't know, but I think there is a point that there needs to be a lot more... there needs to be a lot less vagueness on the fact of your team selection. And what's the point of selecting a team if you're just going to make a change before the game starts?
Yeah. Besides conditions, if it's pelting down rain, you don't need 4 tools. So then you make a late change, obviously.
But I mean, then you should probably already know that the weather's coming.
Yeah, exactly. You should know that. Oh well, the teams come out Sunday. Okay, well, it's going to be 90% chance of rain. I know that they're not going to have a. What's the point of having tools?
Yeah, having 4 different tools. I mean, I think that's probably fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I personally would probably just get rid of the sub, if I'm being honest, and just have 5 players on the bench, but that's neither here nor there. And finally, Essendon's Sam on bad news for injuries, or really bad ones, I guess. Essendon obviously have confirmed that Sam Draper has ruptured his Achilles and will most likely miss the rest of the season, which does mean that Todd Goldstein now basically was put in the VFL team for the majority of the year. It was only going to be there out of necessity, and now, 6 rounds in, he's right in there.
He's the main man.
He's the main man. Well, Sam Draper just seemed to be ready to go this season. He played up forward. Nick Bryan seemed like the guy But then he went as the sole ruck the last week and a half, and he looked like anything. Anything could happen this year for Sam Draper. He's kicking goals. His marking around the ground was brilliant. Honestly, looked like he could potentially be a top 5 ruckman at the end of the season. And then this happens. What's wrong with all the injuries?
Yeah, it was. It was probably the worst position for Essendon to get
an injury.
Second, within 2 weeks, both their ruckmen go down.
Yeah, with season-ending injuries.
Yeah, with season-ending injuries. The good thing about they're bringing in Goldstein, elite ruckman.
Yeah, I mean, if your third string ruckman is Todd Goldstein, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, so that it's not the worst thing in the world that they have had to go to Goldstein, but the thing is, how many weeks is Goldstein going to be able to hold up?
Yeah,
in a row.
I think they have one moral player, Vizantini. I think
it's
Dante's brother or something. Yeah. So that's their last ruckman hope. Maybe they could chuck him in for a week against maybe the West Coast Eagles again, but I don't know.
Or maybe they have to play Peter Wright as a ruckman for 1 week.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be interesting what they do.
Yeah, I think that I just really unfortunate for Sam Draper. I mean, it'll be interesting. It could even be his last year in Essendon colours too, because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting how the Crows and what Adelaide will.
From my understanding, he was maybe a month ago. He was close to re-signing with the Bombers. That's what I thought it was, and that's where I remember seeing reports of it. But obviously, being an SA boy, Adelaide desperately are looking for a ruckman to replace Riley O'Brien. So I think it's either going to be out of Essendon and the Crows. I don't really think Port Adelaide are going to go necessarily hard for him.
Not with the fact is they have Jordan Sweet and
Ivan Soldo
and Vizantini, who's had a good couple of games when he's played in the seniors.
So yeah, I think one thing that Draper does have on his side though is he has performed pretty well up forward this year. So, and I love his set shot goal kicking too.
I wish I saw that at Gather Round, but he just didn't get an opportunity.
Yeah. So a couple of good news stories on the Melbourne point of view for injury. It does seem that Stephen May should be all good to go for Anzac Day Eve against the Tigers in a couple of days. And Judd McVie looks expected to join Stephen May in the lineup after suffering a serious hamstring injury in the preseason. So 2 very important players for the Demons returning on the weekend. We'll get to the preview of the tips in a moment. But I just wanted to quickly talk about opening round. There's been some hypothetical opening round suggestions. So one that Fox Footy brought out was that a game would be on Thursday between Brisbane and Hawthorn, up at the Gabba, obviously. Friday would be Sydney and Geelong at the SCG. Saturday would be the Gold Coast up against Essendon and the Gold Coast. Saturday night would be the Giants and the Bulldogs. And then Sunday would be the traditional game between the traditional rivals between Collingwood and Carlton. To set it all up. I just think scrap it altogether, to be honest.
What's the point? If you're going to play 5 games now, you might as well make the bloody whole thing around. Make it round 1 and do that.
Yeah.
For round 1, what would be so bad about that?
Yeah. I just think at the end of the day, they should just you can call it whatever the fuck you want. I think they should just start at round 1. That's the whole point. And then if you're going to do it as a split round, do it as something. I don't know, but I think at the end of no one really wants what's they're serving up at the moment.
No.
I mean, at this rate, I don't know why they just don't do this for half a round and then the next week have 2 games in Perth and 2 games in Victoria. Make the SA teams travel because they get gather round. Maybe that would be a way to do it. I don't know. I mean, there's 18 teams at the moment. I think that's how you'd probably be able to do it. And then we get up for the next week.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to do opening round. At the end of the day, I think they should just scrap it all together. But, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. The AFL seem pretty hot on it to say they want to keep it. So
they want to cash in on it, but to be honest, I don't.
I think it just sets it already puts an unfair advantage onto teams at the start of the season. And the fixture's already unbalanced as it is. So I just don't like it at all. But let's move on. So usually we have this segment at the end of the episode, but because this story has been running the rounds around the AFL over this last couple of days, of course, the Flog of the Week is coming up the episode today. So, of course, most people know by now, especially this coming out on a Wednesday, about Noah Bolter. He has been handed down a sentence for his assault on a person. I'm trying to find the guy's name. I can't find it. But basically he punched someone a night during the preseason. It was on December the 30th. He had an incident involving a person. He was with his brother, and he punched the guy several times. Now, the verdict was handed down. He has got no jail time, but has been handed a conviction of, I think it's $1,800. Is that right? It's 18-month community corrections order, and he was also received a criminal conviction, a $3,000 fine, and the big one, which has confused a lot of people, is a curfew. So, he's been sanctioned a curfew where he cannot leave his house between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. for 3 months. So this will disrupt Noah Bolton's game time. When his lawyer said that will interrupt his game time, can't you take an exception? The magistrate said no. Now, the reason why the flog of the week this week is going to Melissa Humphreys, the magistrate on this this conviction, is the fact that you have given a guy who punched someone several times an 18-month community corrections order and a $3,000 fine from a guy that gets paid roughly, you'd say $100K a year. So basically, you've made him pay. He's going to be running out of toilet paper for a couple of weeks, if that even bothers him. I mean, he'll be at home a bit more because won't be going out at night. But this guy struck a person multiple times in the head and around the body as well. Could have killed someone.
Yeah.
Now she has made the point that Melissa Humphreys, the magistrate, said the attack was at the higher end of the medium threshold and disagreed there was a risk of death beyond a reasonable doubt. Oh, okay. So I don't think that was rough enough to kill him, but you did a medium amount. I love how we've graded this.
The same criteria as Michael Christian in the MRO.
Yeah, I wonder if he he must have had a little bit of a factor in this. So Noah Bolter's lawyer asked the court to make an exception on the ruling to allow Noah Bolter to play. So basically wanting him or allowing him to play interstate games. That's also another thing. You can't go to interstate games now.
Well, they've only got one game in that 3-month period.
Yeah, which hurts him a lot.
Yeah.
But that's just the unfairness of the fixture as a whole. But yeah, so she put her foot down on that. The magistrate saying no, get over it. She told the court that the curfew was a punitive element and said that Bolter would be required to make changes to his employment to fit the sentence, which I tend to agree with. I don't think that this should, like most other people around the world, if they do something like that, would have to deal with the consequences and don't just get away with it because they're a sports person. But that's where I also draw the line. This guy struck a person multiple times, nearly killed him, could have killed him, and he gets a 18-month community sentence or whatever. If that was anyone else that wasn't related to AFL, because when you think about it, AFL stars, especially in this country, are seen as like our A-listers.
Yeah.
He's got away with it. Let's be honest. He's got away with it.
Yeah.
And Richmond definitely may have got the flog of the week this week as well, but I think I'm giving it to this person because they very much treated him like a star AFL footballer rather than a person who's in society. Now, I don't like to necessarily bring up... I've said this a lot of times. I don't really like the role model way of looking at things, just because I think that at the end of the day, they are human and they can do things that they want. And if they're not hurting anyone, I don't think it's that big a deal. When you give the finger to someone like Bailey Smith did over the weekend, he faked this or whatever, I don't give a fuck if he does that. Who cares? Get over it. He hasn't hurt anyone. But when you're physically punching someone in the fucking head and punching people and assaulting people, I don't think that's... I think you can bring up the role model card there. We don't want people doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we should necessarily give him jail time, but when you look at it, I'm sure there would be people who do the exact same act like that and would get it.
Yeah. So
I just think that it's ridiculous that he's, in my opinion, got away with it. That's what I think anyway. What do you think about the whole thing?
I think he should have got more than what he did, 100%. He's an AFL footballer. He is a role model to a lot of kids. And what does it set an example for these people?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's alright, kids, you can go do that on a Saturday night, but, you know, you can still play footy, still play the game you love, get paid for it.
Yeah.
And it only costs you a couple bucks.
Yeah, basically nothing, really. I mean, you think about the wage that he would be on, it wouldn't have meant anything to him. Now, just a quick breaking news story here. Connor Nash has been sent directly to the tribunal for the strike on Brian Myers, while Geelong's agitator, fuck off, Bailey Smith, has been fined twice, including the one for flipping the bird. Are you kidding me? He got another fine for that? He did fucking nothing. Now, the ball thing, I think, is stupid in itself. I don't even
How
think...
many did you get for that one?
So, hang on, let me have a quick look. So, the one with Nash is obviously going straight to the tribunal. The misconduct, which is the one with the ball to the face, got $1,875. The obscene gesture, as a second offence, because he did it last week as well, how much do you think it was? So, the first one was $1,875. That was the ball to the face. What do you think the giving the finger essentially was?
It should have been less. It should have been no more than $1,200.
It was the exact same, $1,875.
I think to be honest, that the one to the head should have been nearly closer to a week of.
No.
He forcibly threw it at him.
I mean, it's a fucking ball. I mean,
Well,
I think.
yeah, I know, but it's more. That was more intent to throw it at him.
No, I guess. But I mean, I don't even think they should have. I personally don't even think you should have got a fine for it. I think it's like a big. I mean, a free kick, I think, is enough. I think on the field, that's more than enough. But I mean, whatever.
I knew he was going to get a fine for it. I knew 100% he was going to get
The fact that he got a fine for giving the bird is ridiculous. Again,
I
look, that one I actually get more than the one in the Adelaide Crows game because the guy was screaming over the fucking.
Yeah, but the thing is that it was funny. The one on Easter Monday that he gave, it actually revved up the crowd.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that...
And this is the thing as well. They'll fucking use this as advertisement for the next time they play against each other.
Yeah.
So the AFL are just going to fucking have another fucking wank over themselves. They're going to use this for advertisement to make more publicity for the next Hawthorn v Geelong game. Even though they punish these players for having some sort of personality on the field.
Yeah.
Like, I got to tell you, if you're a Hawthorn fan and you yelled it in the crowd, by all power to you. If you're still angry about that, you're a fucking loser. Get over it. He fucking gave the finger to the crowd. If you get angry while you're at the game or, you know, you fucking yell out, oh, you're a fucking idiot, Bailey, take another Instagram post, you fuckwit. Like, whatever. Have a go like that. He's sitting there on the field playing football, the game that you'd probably want to play. Like, I think you have the right, you can yell over something stupid. But that's ridiculous, I think, anyway. And speaking of crowd stuff, I mean, we can bring that up as well. The Swans supporter on the weekend throwing that thing at the Port Adelaide, throwing the clapper thing at Aliir. Now, he was a younger guy, so I don't want to bag him out too much, but what was he thinking?
It's just not what you do. Like, when you're at the football...
Trust me, for one thing, I'm not the most well-behaved person at the football. So...
But you don't touch them, you don't throw things at them.
Yeah.
And I think he knows it was a mistake.
Yeah. As soon as he did it, he was like, oh, fuck, what the hell did I do that for?
Yeah, I think the way that he was... To be honest, the way it was handled, how I'm seeing some reports is bullshit from people that have come out and said that he was reprimanded, he was talked to by the police, and he was thrown in jail. I think that's over the top for that incident. But yeah, I mean, think the way, but after they gave him the ban and all that, I think that's fair. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's more than fair. Like, ban the guy. I think it was a 3-year ban, from my understanding. It was
2.
It was a 2 or 3 year ban. And yeah, I mean, maybe even just an apology, which I think would have been fine. Like, especially because he's a younger guy, you know, he would have understood whatever. But at least, the first thing I thought, and I was like, oh, fuck, please don't be that, was a racial slur. Thank God it wasn't that. And that was one of the things that was brought up pretty quickly, was the fact that he didn't do that.
Yeah.
But the thing, when I first saw it, like, on the game, and I saw Aliir yell over the crowd, I thought, oh, fuck, he's done something stupid, like yell out something racial. And I was like, oh, thank God he hasn't done that. But then I thought that what happened was the Swans player kicked towards goal and he missed and he like went like this to go smack it on the fence and he let it slip. But from what it looks like, it does look like he goes to throw it at Lear.
Yeah.
So that's not good. And maybe he should be reprimanded a bit. Like, whatever. But I think his parent was sitting next to him as well. It didn't seem to do a lot, the parent. I will put it there that way. All right? It didn't seem like they were, like, full on, oi, what the fuck are you doing, you little fucker? All right? But whatever. Anyway. Maybe she was like, I think it was a mother. It was either a mother or a father, whatever it was. Maybe she was like, look, we'll let Aaliyah deal with this. We'll let you have it. He'll do the talking for the moment. But, yeah, I think that was a bit... at the end of the day, he's a younger guy. Hopefully he learns from it, but just don't fucking do that sort of shit, obviously. I think that's more than fair.
But before we go any further, a message from me. If you guys enjoy the content and you want to see more, then make sure to become a member on the channel today. For just $4 a month, you can get early access to video essays, access to live recordings of the Boundary Riders podcast, along with exclusive stream perks and much more. And something that I'm super excited to introduce to channel membership this year is the members vote. Every week with the review, you can cast your vote to have your say on the Boundary Riders medal. So for all that and more, click the link down below, and for the added bonus of getting an extra inch onto your member, then do it now. But anyway, let's get back into the content.
So let's move on from that now and move to our segment that we have when you are here, our overreact / fair call. So obviously a couple of statements throughout the media throughout the week come through. I like to do this sort of stuff, ask you questions, then we just talk about it. Some statements that have happened throughout the week. So the first one is the Sydney Swans are playing like... Fucking hell. Hang on. Let's get this right. The Sydney Swans are playing Globetrotter football. Is that an overreaction to the first couple of weeks, or do you think that's a fair call?
I think it's overreacting to it. I think they're still trying to figure out how Dean Cox wants them to play. I think they're trying out a few things. Some things are working, some things aren't, and they don't have the personnel on the team to really show their best.
Okay. I'm the resident Swans fan here. This was said by legendary ex-coach in Paul Roos. I'm going to say it's a slight overreaction, but there are some things that I think the Swans need to fix up. For one, I don't know if Chad Warner is injured right now, but he needs to fucking lift his game because he is playing poor at the moment, to say the least. And every single time he touches it, he's trying to have a highlight reel rather than playing the game. And Chad Warner is a very, very good player. I hope he doesn't leave at the end of the season to go to the West Coast Eagles. But he seems to be a player right now that's playing for the contract rather than playing for the team. And he needs to fucking put his head over the ball and do the stuff. The flashy stuff will come with him, obviously, because that's the way he plays. But he's got to play the ball first, and he's got to play that bullish football and then explode from stoppage. He's only shown that maybe once or twice this year. I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of an injury cloud around him, but he's not playing the football that he is best at, and it is a little bit Globetrotter-like. Now, Isaac Heaney, this one I don't really have an issue with. I think he's playing the best that he can, and we saw against Collingwood a couple of weeks ago how good he is, but I think that Dean Cox needs to play him more forward. I think that he's not getting forward enough, especially when he's getting tagged through the middle of the ground, and Paul Rose also made another point in this interview that he was having, that he sees Isaac Heaney as one of the most influential players in any team in the AFL at the moment, because if Isaac Heaney gets stopped through the Swans, they don't find a way to score, or they don't find a way to win games, which I think is kind of fair, especially looking at the two finals games last year when we won against the Giants. We saw how good he was, and against Port Adelaide, he was probably the best on the ground. So, and then obviously in the grand final had a very poor performance. We get smashed by 60 points. So I get that point. But I do think on the other side of it, Sydney, I don't think they're playing necessarily Globetrotter football. I think there are a lot of good signs coming through. Their ground balls on the weekend were very high. They were better than Port Adelaide's. They moved the ball relatively well at times. The way they were moving it was good. Just the execution was horrible. The amount of times they kicked to grass, they missed targets, which is just un-Sydney-like. Like we saw last year, when they were at their best, like this, that middle part of the season, they could not miss a target. They would just bang, bang, bang inside the forward 50. It would be a goal. So there are a few issues for Sydney, but I don't think it's Globetrotter, Melbourne-esque at this stage, but I do think there are some aspects that they need to clean up that are a bit showboaty at this stage. Anyway, that's my 2 cents in it on the whole situation with the Sydney Swans. Let's move on to Fremantle. And are Fremantle wasting one of the all-time lists?
That's a fair call. They have one of the best midfield trios in the game.
You're looking at Young, Sarong, Brayshaw.
Yeah, and they've got Jackson and Darcy, two dominant ruckmen. And the fact is that they got two of them. Why get rid of one of them? I think you get rid of Darcy because Jackson can play really as the fourth midfielder in there. They've got a dominant forward in Tracy. They've got one of the best defenses in the league, and they can't beat a team that was 0-5 in Melbourne.
Yeah,
seriously, a team that couldn't kick 10 goals in a game. That's really shit house.
Yeah,
they have played, but that game on the weekend was one of the worst games when all the anticipation was on them. They win this, they can show their skill on the MCG, and they failed miserably.
Yeah, I would tend to agree they're wasting a list at the moment, but their team is still quite young. I will say that. Their midfield core, still, none of them would be over the age of 27.
I think they were still in the bottom 5 of the experience.
So I still think that that's a little bit of maybe looking at it, it's maybe a bit of an overreaction. But right now, this team should not be losing to Melbourne, despite where the hell it is. It should make a difference.
But this team should be making finals, and the way they're playing on the weekend, they won't play finals.
No, I agree with you. But again, I think that they are quite young. They're one of the youngest squads in the competition. They have a lot of potential, but I mean, Josh Tracy's not even over 22 yet. I mean, he looks like it. He's fucking built like a brick shit house. I think, by the way, teams should be offering him millions of dollars. Like, fuck me, I think you build a club around him, Josh Tracy. But yeah, I think it's a slight overreaction, but I do tend to agree with you, and I think most Fremantle fans would be like, when the fuck are we going to be a club that people can think about and think we are a team that people can say, oh my god, Fremantle are a good side. But when's the last time you've looked at Fremantle and gone, oh, they're a good team to watch? Or, oh, they're going to give you something every single week.
Even though during their grand final days, like those finals,
in 2013,
in the mid 2010s, they weren't a flashy team.
No, which I mean is fine, but also it's like they weren't good. They really, when you're going into that grand final, everyone kind of knew this is going to be Hawthorns, and it would be a shock if Fremantle won it.
Yeah, but this is the first time since Pavlich that they have a dominant forward. They need to be able to go on with it. And the fact is that if they don't make finals this year, Longmuir doesn't last the season. Yeah.
I mean, if Longmuir doesn't, then what's next? Like, it's very hard to get someone to go over to Perth and coach.
Yeah.
Like, it's very difficult. It's just, you can see the atmosphere from the West Coast Eagles with Harley Reid and Adam Simpson last year. Like, who the hell wants to go and join that atmosphere?
Yeah.
And then it's so far away from everything. It's so far away from Victoria. You got to travel every single 2 weeks. It's not like it's SA where it's only like a 2-hour flight or whatever. It's a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration when going to play or coach in WA.
Yeah.
So that's why there's so many people who go back there, like as a home state, but also there's not a lot that really go there from outside of a WA. So it will be very interesting. Fremantle have got the Crows this week. That's an interesting game. In the preview in a moment, we'll talk about that. But fuck, that's going to be a massive contest. And then the final overreaction / fair call part of the segment. This has been one that's come up the last couple of weeks. West Coast deserve a priority pick.
I think it's a fair call. They look horrible. Like, they had a good game on the weekend and they still lost. This team can't do anything. at the moment. Well, they're going to lose Oscar Allen at the end of the season, their best forward. Like, you can say Jake Waterman, but I still think Oscar Allen's their best at his best.
Yeah.
Harley Reid, I expect to leave, but they're in such a hole at the moment. They have some experience in that team, but they need a draft like Richmond and have 20 picks.
Yeah.
15 to 20 picks, because they need to be able to regen this team, or they're going to be down the bottom for the next 7 years, and it could be even longer when Tassie come in.
Yeah.
So I think they need it.
I would say it's an overreaction, but it's not really an overreaction. It is you don't deserve one on the fact that you should have gone to the draft the last 2 years, and you haven't. You've gone to the trade table, picked up Liam Baker, who's been probably one of their better players this year, Jack Graham, who's been okay, but you could have used these draft picks. Like, Bo Allen's yet to play a game yet. Why the fuck is he not playing? He's one of your big prospects, WA prospects. Play him in the team. I'm sorry, but he's a lot better. Give him a go, for fuck's sake. Yeah. And he's your one top draft pick from a while, for a while. Like, Elijah Hewitt's came into the team and he's shown some signs. But how many young kids are joining that West Coast team? And you're like, okay, he's going to do something. Like, Harley Reid looks good, but, I mean, he's not really been consistent at the moment, which is, like, fair. He's a younger guy. But they've got so many high players up the top. Maybe they should go and let go Oscar Allen, just because he's going to bring back a lot.
Yeah. Not
a lot because he's a free agent. Maybe he should have done it last year. But I think I agree with you on the side that they need to gut this team and do the Richmond route of get, like, 7 top first-round draft picks and go again. And let Andrew McWalter build his own team.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another issue as well, is he's got a lot of... At the moment, it's his first year. It's hard to build a team. Adam Uze in his first year was doing a lot worse than what he's doing right now, because he's basically got a whole new team that he gets to work with.
Yeah.
The team before, the team that he was working with last year was Damien Hardwick's team, really. If you look at it, it was Damien Hardwick's team still. He's lost all those a lot of experienced players left, and the ones that stayed were like, we want to stay, we want to be Richmond. And look how good they're doing. Well, I mean, look, they're 2-4, but they are doing, like, that team was supposed to expect to win no games. Yeah. Now, the only team that hasn't won a game is West Coast. And they don't look like winning one. Now, yes, they had a chance against Essendon, but, like, Essendon played horrible football pretty much the whole 4 quarters, and they still won the game.
Well, what about if they have to give up their priority pick and give, like, say, and trade in other picks, that's all that they could do, and maybe should. They give up they give up their priority pick, which is pick 1, or pick 2, or pick 3, and then they trade that, and then they get, like, 3 or 4 first rounders from other teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they could do, and I think looking way back in the day, I think that's what they should have done with the Harley Reid one. I mean, I know that Harley Reid's a generational talent, and the thing is, they're probably going to get back more now with Harley Reid. Like, that's the thing. And I don't know if he's necessarily going to leave, but they'll probably get more back from it. But I think at the end of the day, they could have traded away that pick 1 for something else, or 2 picks, or they could have picked up Dan Curtin they could have traded away, and then they could have picked up WA kid Dan Curtin, who went to the Crows in the end. Yeah, he could have stayed in WA. They could have built around that. But, like, at the end of the day, right now, maybe McKercher doesn't look so bad. I don't know. I think they picked right. They picked Harley Reid correctly, but I do think they could have traded that away, picked up 2 kids rather than having 1, and could have worked it out that way. Because right now, they have a couple of good kids out there, but really, they're still relying on their experienced players. And where have those experienced players brought them in the last 4 years? They've been down in the bottom 4 for a long time.
They brought them to the injury list. That's what they've done.
Yeah, well, they've all been on the injury list, and now, like, Elliot Yeo on the injury list again. McGovern's been in and out of the team through injury this year. Barras obviously left, but they didn't get a lot back for him.
But do you think, out of all the players the only player you haven't spoken about is Matt Owens? I think he's been shithouse.
Oh, he hasn't been. Yeah,
He
hasn't
has
done
been
anything.
shithouse for West Coast so far this season.
Yeah. I mean, looking at it right now, Carlton won that trade. I mean, even though Jagger Smith hasn't played.
They are lucky for the fact is that even though that Maddo is left, they're relying on Motlob. He's done shit, but they could still win this trade for the fact is that Jagger Smith hasn't played, but he could be that generational player for Carlton for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Matt always has done nothing so far this year. And
I hardly even know he's on the field most of the... Like, I watched that Gather Round game and I didn't even know he was on the field until he hit one goal.
Yeah, true. I was about to say, he kicked one goal and it was late in the game, so we didn't even get to see him celebrate.
It's like...
Yeah, Matt always isn't playing that well at the moment, and not many of them are.
Tim Kelly looks like he's out the door.
Yeah, which is another player that they wasted 3 first-round draft picks for, which is like, yeah, I get it. Like, Tim Kelly looked like a great player at the time, but again, you've traded away a lot of good talent or potential talent for one person who
was already a mature age pick.
Yeah, which you could have... And that's another thing as well. These fucking WA teams need to start looking in the waffle a lot more. They let go Nick Martin straight to Essendon, one of the best players for the club.
He'd probably play the best game. He was one of the best on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think he got 2 votes in the on the boundary right in the BR votes. Yeah, so he was pretty fucking good. Tim Kelly they let go to Geelong a couple of years later, and then they had to use 3 first-round picks just to claw him back. They just start looking in the waffle a bit more.
They lost Dan Curtin to the Crows.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, they could have. They probably... They
could have got him. But...
They could have got him. They could have done something better with their draft picks. I think they need to start being more creative. And I think a lot of clubs do need to be a little bit more creative. You know, I know that having those number 1, number 2, number 3 picks are so illustrious, but look at teams like Richmond. I know we keep on bringing up Richmond, but they use 7 picks. Yes, they had a lot of them, but those players are... players that they've used to play roles. Like, before he got injured, Harry Armstrong was showing some really good signs as that forward. A couple of those midfielders showing great signs. Luke Traynor is off that half-back line. Great use of the football. That's a player they can build off of.
Yeah.
But West Coast and even North Melbourne to an extent, they're picking up these midfielders that are like, yeah, you can pick a midfielder out of the waffle and fucking play well.
Yeah.
But these generational players... Yeah, maybe we're just rambling on a bit, but I think overall, I don't think West Coast deserve one because I think they've done it to themselves. I mean, now people are talking about North Melbourne. Do they deserve another one?
No.
It's like, no. What else do you want, fucking North, at this point? It's your fault at this point. You can fucking just take the training wheels off and just let them fucking roam at this point, the Roos. Anyway, a little bit of shade thrown at the Kangaroos at this point. We'll move on. So let's move into our preview to round 7. Of course, a couple of big games coming up being Anzac round. Still very disappointed the Swans didn't make an Anzac Day jumper, but end of the day, that's not neither here nor there. Did Port Adelaide make a jumper in the end? I don't think they did in the end, which is weird because I thought they would have done one. They've done one in the past, I believe. Anyway, by the way, the Crows won. Did you see their jumper? I don't really like to praise the Crows too much, but their jumper was fucking elite.
Still not the best one out of the week.
Yeah, St Kilda's was very good. That'd be their number 1. But Crows would be definitely second. And I don't know. I'd kind of put Crows on elite status there. Anyway, that's your preview to the Guernseys for round 7. Let's get into the game. Preview to round 7. A couple of big matchups willing to come. A couple of real 50-50 games coming up. And of course, you have the Anzac Day games, which we will get to first. The Anzac Day Eve game between Melbourne and Richmond. Probably a week ago, we'd be saying, let's not even watch this one. But a very interesting contest coming up with both teams winning on the weekend. Of course, Melbourne up against Fremantle to get their first win of the season. And the Tigers absolutely shocked the Gold Coast Suns to get their second win of the year. Both teams pretty low on the ladder, but this is an all-important 4 points. Arguably a game that will probably decide which team will finish higher on the ladder at the end of the year. Now, Melbourne probably have a lot more experience around the ground as a whole, but they do have a few injuries at this stage, and their forward line is a question mark. Richmond, you're probably expecting a bit of ups and downs throughout the year. They can really get up for some games, but other ones they do tend to look like their games are gone at halftime or they're gone in 3 quarters. My brother and I have both given some interesting points regarding this game. He has said that Melbourne looked way more efficient moving the ball last week. Richmond we've seen be hit and miss throughout the year and honestly can't really rely on them to win 2 in a row.
Main reason why I will be picking Melbourne over Richmond is because of the 5-day break. I believe the older players of the Demons will be able to deal with that a lot better than the Tigers, who they do have some older players in there, but they do have a lot of young players who I think will struggle off a 5-day break that they will have to play against here. So that's why I'm going Melbourne, pretty similar to my brother. In saying that though, Richmond were very impressive and they have been the more consistent team of the two in this season so far. So I think it's an interesting game. I do think the Demons will have them in the end, but if the Tigers can bring that sort of fight this week, then they may very well be 3-4 going into round 8. That would be amazing from people saying that they won't even win a game this year. After that, of course, we get to the traditional Anzac Day clash, Collingwood v Essendon. A massive matchup, of course, and over the previous couple of years, these games have been extremely close. A couple of draws between these two teams in the past. But of course, Collingwood are flying at the moment. Essendon coming off a couple of wins in a row. However, they've been against lesser sides, so this is a real test of the Bombers. Looking at it, Essendon did get Peter Wright back last week, and against the Eagles, even though they weren't the best, Peter Wright was brilliant with the 6 goals. So if he can hit the scoreboard on Anzac Day, then maybe they can find an avenue to try and score goals. However, looking at it, simply Collingwood look too good at the moment. Their defence is very, very good, and Essendon are going to be extremely hard to rely on in the middle of the ground, especially now that they have to go to their third string ruckman. Yes, Todd Goldstein has a lot of experience, but has yet to play in the ones this year, so to rely on a guy who has not played senior football is going to be tough. The Bombers, in my opinion, also don't have a great matchup for Nick Dacos. Now, Sam Durham potentially could go to him at stoppage, but I think he's just going to be too quick, too fleet of foot for the Essendon midfielders, and I think that's where they're going to be won. I do think Collingwood win this one. My brother has said the same. It's pretty simple in the end. Collingwood are in insane form right now. I don't think Essendon will have enough to find a way to get through Collingwood. Their defence has been really good this year. The Pies the last few weeks are dominating through the middle of the ground with Nick Dacos in probably the best form of his career, which is insane to say looking at him over the first couple of years of his career, but he's just in insane form right now. And the Bombers, yes, they've looked better the last few weeks, but not against great opposition. The Friday night game on Anzac Day is such an interesting contest. Freo up against Adelaide in Perth. What a contest this is. The Crows, one of the best attacking teams in the competition right now, against Fremantle, who lose against Melbourne last week, have been right up and down. A real roller coaster of a season for them so far. A team that was expected at the start of the year to potentially be pushing for top 4, teetering around that middle mark of the ladder right now and have an even ledger of 3-3. I think the Dockers will respond. I think they have proud players out there. You got the captain in Brayshaw, Sarong as well, and their defense has been beaten at times this year when I think that's their strongest line, so I think they will respond. I do also think that Fremantle have the defenders to cover the Crows forwards of looking at Walker, Thilthorpe and Fogarty if he does play. That will be a massive out for Adelaide if he does not get up. And I think this game will be decided by the real star factor players. And I think there's some massive matchups in the middle of the ground. You got Rankin and Sarong, Dawson and Brayshaw. You got Hayden Young and Matt Crouch as well. A massive matchup through the middle of the ground. So two good ruckmen as well. Riley O'Brien, one of the best hit-out ruckman in the competition up against Darcy, real strong competitor. So I have personally gone with Fremantle. I simply don't think the Crows have a good enough matchup for Caleb Sarong. And if we've learned about that in the first 6 weeks of the season, if you stop Caleb Sarong, you stop Fremantle. If you can't stop him, Fremantle win. I don't really see a matchup that the Crows will go with here. Maybe James Peatling coming back into the team. He has done it with the Giants in the past. Maybe he does a pseudo-tagging role against Caleb Sarong. However, I think he's such a proud player. He was pretty poor last week against the Demons. I think he will respond, and I think they'll have a massive rise through the middle of the ground and the Dockers will win. However, my brother has picked the Crows. He says he doesn't think they have an effective matchup to go against Rankin. He also thinks Freo are heavily reliant on Josh Tracy to kick them a winning score here, and he does say that the Crows' defence can stop them from doing that. And I think a very underrated defender so far this year is Nick Murray. The games that they've won this year at Adelaide, Nick Murray has been a part of. When they've lost in those 2 weeks, he has not been a part of the team. So a very important player back in the team last week for the Crows, and we saw how well they were against the Giants. Granted, the Giants didn't have Jesse Hogan, but if they can find a way to stop Josh Tracy scoring, it's going to be tough for the Dockers to find a winning score. And I also think we have to mention Shea Bolton. He seems in the last couple of weeks to really get his season up and going. He had a pretty slow start, but I think last week a little bit more electric around stoppage. And I think he's ready to have a real breakout game. So keep your eye out on Shea Bolton. But now to the final game we want to take a look at here. The Gold Coast Suns up against Sydney. Sunday early game, 12:45 I believe this is. What a massive contest for The Gold Coast coming off a really bad loss against the Tigers, and the Swans currently 2-4. Now, I think the Swans have shown some decent signs last week, despite the loss against Port Adelaide. If Sydney cleaned up their ball skills, and if they find that forward link up, I think that they would have won that game. And my brother has made the point that he thinks the Swans can win this one as well. Could go either way. If McCartan does play up forward, then the Swans have lost this game before it began. He's also mentioned the fact that the Gold Coast will need to respond. They weren't very effective using the ball inside 50. They did have 20 plus inside 50 against the Tigers last week. And one player I want to put on the spotlight here for Sydney, not just Tom McCartan. I think 100% he has to play defence. He is not a forward. He doesn't have the forward craft, and I think the experiment should be finished. But a player that I want to put under the spotlight for the Swans is James Jordan. I think over the past couple of weeks, he has really lowered his colours in terms of the tagging role. He was well beaten by Nick Dacos, a player that he has been able to keep under wraps in the past, and Connor Rosie. Went to him in the first quarter and a half against Port Adelaide, and he honestly just got outshone. He's a pretty athletic player, James Jordan, and Rosie just ran rings around him. He had to be moved to Zach Butters and didn't really have a lot of impact there either. So James Jordan, whoever he goes to, it's a real important matchup this week up against the Gold Coast Suns. Probably Noah Anderson, I would say. I don't know if he has the bulk to take on Matt Rowell at stoppage, but either way, has to stop one of those midfielders, and if he doesn't, the Gold Coast will go all the way to win this one. I personally and my brother are going to be picking the Gold Coast Suns. It's up at the Gold Coast as well. The Swans, I just don't think have that forward structure at the moment. I don't know if they can kick a winning score. Yes, Aaron Francis was a good option last week, but Hayden McLean could have had an opportunity to kick some goals. They're players that could do it, but I can't rely on them to do it at this stage. So my full round 7 tips are Melbourne to beat Richmond, Collingwood to beat Essendon, Fremantle to beat Adelaide, Brisbane to beat the Saints, Port Adelaide to beat North Melbourne, GWS to beat the Bulldogs, Gold Coast to beat Sydney, Geelong to beat Carlton, and Hawthorn to beat the West Coast Eagles. And my brother's tips for round 7 are Melbourne to beat Richmond, Collingwood to beat Essendon, Adelaide to beat the Dockers, Brisbane to beat St Kilda, Port Adelaide to beat North Melbourne, GWS to beat the Dogs, Gold Coast to beat Sydney, Geelong to beat Carlton, and Hawthorn to beat the West Coast Eagles. Now, I won't be able to cover the league for this week for our AFL tipping comp because I am recording this on Monday afternoon, just before the tips. However, at this stage, looking at it just before the Geelong game, we do have Brendan Stephen with top with 4 tips. I currently have 3 over the week, picking Hawthorn today, and my brother has 3 tips who's picked Geelong today. So a couple of interesting ones looking at the rest of the week. And Ethan Sports currently looking at it, only got 2 this week so far, has got the 40 tips and is currently on top of the AFL tipping ladder.
So now we get to Bros Bets, my brother's betting segment. Forgot to post it a couple of weeks ago. I think his TikTok account got banned as well. Is that right?
I think so. I can't.
You can't access it.
I haven't been able to access it.
So his TikTok account got banned because the bets are just so good.
Well, I had a good week. We had a good week. Good Saturday actually. Won 2 of the 3 same game multis. So.
Oh, fucking brilliant! Now, have you got to say an exclusive this week?
Yeah, I reckon Nick Martin gets 25 against Collingwood and Anzac Day.
All right, good. So if you are going to place a bet on Anzac Day or any time during the weekend, of course, gamble responsibly. But Nick Martin, a player to watch. Do you think? I don't really think Collingwood would necessarily go and tag him, so don't mind the call.
He had a good week, obviously, last week, so I think he can back it up.
Yeah. Now we'll talk a little bit about Zach Merritt in the next segment because I really want to talk about him, but not too bad. Let's just break through quickly my brother's bets for round 7.
Alright guys, let's get into Anzac round. First we'll get to our Thursday night same game multi, Richmond v Melbourne. First leg is Clayton Oliver for 30 plus disposals. Second leg is Jacob Hopper for 20 plus disposals. Third leg is Christian Petrarca for 20 plus disposals. Final leg is Trent Rivers for 20 plus disposals, valued at $4. Then we get to our certainty bet this week. I'm taking Jordan Dawson for 25 plus disposals against the Dockers on Anzac Day, valued at $1.71. And finally we get to our outside the boundary bet. I'm taking Charlie Cameron for 3 plus goals against the Saints, valued at $3.90. And as always guys, gamble responsibly.
Finally guys, we weren't able to post a AFL Fantasy review this week on the channel. I may post this clip as like a separate thing on the podcast channel, but let's get into a bit of AFL Fantasy review because both of us are here. We haven't done one this week. Might as well. Now I've kind of wanted to avoid it because I had a really poor week, but we're just gonna rip off the band-aid. So first of all, I'll talk about my team, then my brother can talk about his. I got 1,898 over the weekend. Not very good. There were some reasons why though.
Oh, there was plenty of reasons why we both had a poor week.
Yeah, so the rank of it for my score for the whole week was 28,156. So that's pretty poor. Anyway, let's talk about some good players first, and then we'll get into the bad ones. So Jack Bowie, brought him in this week, 113. What a performance. Highest score for the year for him. Great job. Matt Roberts, 96. I'll take that. Bice just continues on. Bice is still good. 72.
Yeah, you don't need him to get you don't need him to get 100 every week.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to put that much pressure on the guy. It's his 5th game.
Yeah.
Like, he can get to 70. That's okay.
He's still making a lot of cash.
Yeah, he's just a cash cow at this point. He is the Sunrise cash cow. Jordan Dawson with the 123. Rosie, 101. Probably should have done a bit better, but I'll take that. Max Gorn with the 125. Jason Horn-Francis, 105. Love to see it. Riley Sanders, great performance from him. Just unbelievable.
I wish I saw that because I don't really believe he got 130.
Trust me, you didn't want to watch it live. It was a fucking dreadful game of footy. But Riley Sanders made it look good with the 130 for himself. And Sam Davidson as well just continues on. 87 points. He just continues to cash.
It looked like he was about to bottom out, and then he just goes bang.
Yeah. Now he may look a bit like a skeleton, but he's all X Factor.
Like you see him on the field with that blonde hair. You'll see him at night.
Yeah, I mean, that thing would glow in the dark. Fucking hell, you'd want him walking with you in the dark streets of fucking Adelaide on gather round. But anyway, let's get to the worst players now. I don't want to put too much shit on Luke Traynor because he was the sub. So I'll put this a lot.
I think you're all blaming it on the coach.
Yeah, but I think to an extent they're resting him because it's a 5-day break to Anzac round. That's what I think. That's what I think they've done with Luke Traynor. They made him sub. Just don't bring him on at that point. He came on with 6 minutes to go.
Beautiful time to bring him on.
Yeah, because you don't have him anyway.
Yeah, and then the guy I played had him on his field.
2 points. That was just rude. If they just left him off, he wouldn't have lost any cash. Well, his break even would have stayed the same.
Do you also think it was the fact is that Noah Bolter played?
No, I think that he's a rebounding defender. I think it was I think it was just that reason. The sole reason that they've had a 5-day break. He'll be back this week. Zach Merritt, 81, not good. Just didn't have that sort of performance against West Coast, which I was hoping he would. Clayton Oliver, 81, could have done better. Will Ashcroft against Collingwood just had a shocker. 41 points, wasn't around the footy. 13 touches, not good enough. Tom de Koning, 62. Starting to get into that territory where you want to get rid of him. He's still sitting around the mark. You got to hold him for now. But, if Carlton start to perform poorly and he's not scoring well, because I know, obviously, Michael Voss is a huge AFL Fantasy fan and really cares about it.
I'm just waiting for him to put, Voss to put Pitnet in.
Yeah, when Pitnet comes in, you have to get rid of him. And then, I mean, look, 84 isn't a bad score, but Bailey Smith, I think he could have had a big score. He was on 50 at halftime. I thought it would be maybe done a bit better. And look, again, it's not really his fault, but El Harley, -1. I mean, come on, dude. I didn't even know they would have red numbers in AFL Fantasy, and this guy's gone and got a minus. He's got a buddy. That's just unheard of. So, again, he was the sub. It's a little bit hard done by, but he did come on in the third quarter. He could have scored a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to actually score, and he
just didn't.
Every part of him tried to not.
Yeah, he just did not want to touch it. So, yeah, that's going to bring up the AFL trades. All right, so I'll get to my trades in a minute. You want to just get to your team quickly. So, you scored 1 point better than me this week.
All right, we'll get to it, yeah. So, yes, I finished in 1899, which was ranked, 27,884. So,
So there was like a lot of people that scored. I think it was like 300 people scored exactly the same as me.
Yeah.
Or you.
So, like most of the good scores were the same as yours. Dawson and all that sort of stuff. It was another one. Petrarca for me scored well with 100.
Are you going to try and keep him now and put him forward? Probably.
I think so. I think he's scoring those for a forward. You want minimum 90s, and he's still doing that. So I'll still take that for the moment.
Yeah.
I've got other holes to fill at the moment.
Yeah.
Wanganeen Malera scored again well with an 86, with the same as Jordan Clark.
Considering that St Kilda did so fucking bad, the fact that he scraped to an 86, I think you'll take.
Yeah. Like the poor performances was Jaden Short. He got 0 in the last quarter in that game.
What did he score? Full score in the end?
68.
So yeah, it just didn't touch it.
Yeah.
In the last quarter.
When the Gold Coast were coming back, they just kept scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, some people may have thought they were still getting tired. The only reason why Gold Coast even came back in that last quarter was because Jaden Short couldn't touch the footy.
Yeah.
It was the main reason. They're like, oh my God, why is Jaden Short not scoring enough AFL fantasy points for my team? That's why they're catching back.
I was looking at the game, like watching the last quarter, like he's nowhere near it. But
fucking hell, the Gold Coast are going to win because Jaden Short is touching the footy.
Christian Moraes scored 30, half the
Yeah.
score, 22 in the first quarter, which was so annoying.
Yeah, didn't get around it.
Yeah, and the last player I want to say is Toby Curvis. 1 point up to half time.
Yeah, we were watching this game, and I couldn't watch it much longer when Toby Curvis wasn't touching the footy. It was,
like in that game, he
gave away a lot of free kicks, especially in that first half.
He got away, 4 free kicks. So far this season, he's given away 15 free kicks.
Yeah, so he's just tanking your score.
At least 1 free kick in every game so far this season. That's just I've got to try and force a way to get rid of him.
Yeah. So let's get to our trades. So my trades for this week are Zach Reed out for Tunstall and Murphy Reed out for Adam Chera. Now, that's basically my downgrade to an upgrade. Zach Reed, he probably could have another 40k in him, I would say, because he did actually go up quite a lot, even though he only got 33 on the weekend. But I think it's time to get rid of those players. Zach Reed, I'm not really banking on him to score too many more points. I'm relatively comfortable with Trainer and Bice as my rookie defenders at this stage, scoring points for me. So I'm happy with that.
Is Trainer on your field?
At the moment, yes. So, but by the way, if the teams come out on Thursday night, 1 hour before the game, and Trainer's the sub, that trade is getting changed so quickly. But at the moment, I have the feeling that the reason why Trainer was sub was because he was rested for next week. That's my thinking around it. And Tunstall on the weekend, despite the score of only 59, he looked really good. I really like the look of Tunstall. He was one of the few players I would have said, I think that he's going to get votes in the BNF on... When we look at Brisbane's BNF, after they win the premiership at the end of the year, I think Tunstall will get votes. So he was really good for them in a team that played pretty poorly. So I think he'll get a spot next week for the Lions. Again, when teams come out, if he's not in there, that may change that trade. And then Murphy Reed got the Rising Star nomination, I just saw. So, just kind of shitting on him on the way out. But I think he's done enough. He did go up quite a bit this week again. He's 5.13 in price. Again, he probably could score it, get another 50k, but...
Kind of wish I didn't get rid of him in week 1.
Yeah, that was a bit stupid. But anyway, you get Max Hall, he did all right. But I had enough money to get to Adam Chera. So I've put one of my... I think it was I put in... So I got Tunstall. There's a bunch of swaps around in the team. That's why I've been able to pick up a midfielder. But Adam Chera has been one of the most consistent players this year in terms of AFL Fantasy. His lowest scores in the 80s. Scored 100 in 4 of his 6 games so far. So I'm thinking that my main objective so far at the moment before the mid-season buys is to trade out as many of my rookies that are starting to price out for premium players. That's what I'm kind of looking at right now. So then when I hit the buys or just past them, I will have a full 22 ready to hit the end of the season and try and, you want to, by round 15, 16, you want to be getting 2,200 every week.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to look for. And the rookies that I'm keeping right now mainly are on my team that are at least capable of getting 70 points most weeks. So right now, as my rookies in the team, Bice, Trainer, Levi Ashcroft, Lawler, and Davidson, all of them this year have been pretty capable of getting 70 in most weeks. Now, my next one probably to get rid of, unfortunately, is the GOAT, Lawler, the snake himself. Probably the next one I have to get rid of, but that's what I'm kind of looking at as an objective right now. And the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to start trading out players like Xavier Lindsay, Christian Moraes, Connor Stone, and maybe Cleary, depending on how much more he goes up in price. He may even lose his spot this week, which I hopefully he doesn't, but didn't have a very good game for the Swans on the weekend. But those are kind of the rookies and kind of the process I'm looking at going into the rest of the week. What about you?
So my 2 trades were Sid Draper to Hamish Davies,
yep.
And Toby Nankervis got rid of him for Chish and Jerry.
So the first one, Davies for West Coast. I think, that would definitely change if there's another rookie or something around the mark.
it was his first full game as a not being the sub. He got a 40. Like, I think he's basically done that in other games. He's been the sub.
What's his price at the moment?
He's 231. So he's pretty much base price.
So you couldn't use any more of your money for Tunstall?
I could. It will just depend on how trades go. There's like teams come out.
Yeah.
But I had to get rid of Sid Draper. He got 13 on the weekend. He went down in price.
Yeah, so that's time to get rid of.
You just had to get rid of him. And
the Tobin and Curvis trade for Cherry. So Cherry's pretty low in price at the moment.
Yeah, but his break even is back to a price that I know he'll get on most weeks. on most weeks, I think I know a lot of reports are saying that he got absolutely dominated by Tom DeConey on the weekend. Well,
AFL Fantasy wise, he was brilliant.
It was a different kind of story. It was a 50-point turnaround.
Yeah.
So I think Tristan Cherry, he can play a bit of the Nankervis sort of role. He can be that big brute in the midfield, but he doesn't give away a lot of free kicks.
Yeah.
As many free kicks as Nankervis.
Well, we saw the ceiling that he hit last year, being one of the best players in the AFL Fantasy spectrum. So, I don't mind the trade, but also I didn't start with Nankervis. I started with Max Gorn, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I could have went with Max Gorn. I just thought, well, the fact is that I need to get rid of some other players at the moment, and if I go for a player like Gorn, who's 50k more, I won't have enough to get rid of other players around me. So and the fact is, I also was going to get Gorn for the fact is he has around 15 buy, which is the last second last one. So it would have been beneficial if I could, but I needed to take the punt and take Sherry and then get rid of other players like Murray's.
Yeah, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then try and trade them out for then moving some more rookies similar to me. Just get some more cash in, basically. So that's pretty much all we have. Actually, no, quickly, what's your rank in AFL Fantasy at the moment for the rest? Because you've been sitting around the mark. You were in the top 200 a while ago, a couple of weeks ago.
The last 2 weeks, obviously, I've skyrocketed out of the top 2,000. At the moment, I'm 2,507. Okay,
so that's better than me, but only about 1,500. So I'm 4,105 in the rankings right now.
So what's your overall score?
So my overall score is 11,613.
Ooh, 11,661. So it's a 50 point, nearly.
It's 48 point difference. Yeah. Fucking hell.
So it does show that within 1 week,
I could fucking jump. 50 points. That's nothing, really.
Yeah, it's 50 points. Like, you could probably get that we could probably get that next week, really.
Yeah, we're just looking at it. I just forgot to mention quickly the AFL Fantasy League, of course, we have for the channel. A couple of big moves in the our channel league. The Cheetah Cubs. First time for him, definitely up the top of the ladder. He jumped, I think he went, with a 2,072 on the weekend. Very good score, I would say. Jumping to top spot. But McCracky, what a name. 2,186. He didn't have Luke Trainer. I'll tell you that right fucking now. Great performance from him. Matthew McConaughey. It's not McConaughey, but it looks like it. He's our celebrity points getter, I guess we'll call him. But he's with a big score. He's jumped into second spot. And Pub Feed with Sauce, we absolutely jinxed this guy. He was number 1 AFL Fantasy across the globe, and he's just plummeted. I'm sorry to you, Lucas. I'm sorry. You heard all our praise and just took it on board. You should have completely dismissed it. Now, looking at it, you are in 12th spot on the league. And like I said, 50-point difference, I'm in 24th. There's a huge... Between 12th to 24th, there is a 50-point gap. This is how insane... This is why you should have been if you're not in the league already, you should have joined it when you had the chance. You don't have it anymore. This is how exciting it is. 50 points to separate 24 and 12. I mean, that's what Premier League's seasons are made of. Points like that. Now, Liverpool are going to win the league, so who gives a fuck about the Premier League anymore? But anyway, that is pretty much all we have for you for this episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, guys. Episode 109. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, of course, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're over on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars because I asked super nicely, which I haven't said the last few episodes, and I think that's why we haven't got a lot of them. So, because I asked super nicely, leave us 5 stars, and Make sure to follow. That's the one. So you're notified on the podcast and the review every single week. But again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.